Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Ascension Walk series. In this episode, I am going to share the importance of being divine reliant and relying only on divine. So we're going to get right into it. I'd like to thank those of you who are returning back to my channel and watching this. I really appreciate it. And I also would like to thank those of you that are brand new to my channel. Thank you so much. I welcome you to please make a comment, give it a like, as you know how these algorithms work so that the content can be shared and also YouTube can show my videos on its platform. So Ascension Walk Series Divine Reliant. This is an important part of this embodiment of ascension because when we have become more expanded in our consciousness, we've realized that we're not the body, we're not the mind. We're part of that infinite consciousness that is aware of itself through that I am, through the Mother, Father, God presence. That presence has recognized its unification from the source that is the wellspring that has created everything, and everything just comes through it. We know we're part of that. So here's this extension in form. We come from that. That means the supply of it also comes from that. However, being on Earth, we have gone through many life experiences here, from being a child, going through our kindergarten and elementary school, being dependent and relying on our parents or on others for like our shelter and safety and food. And sometimes we've had some challenges around that. And that includes me, like many of you. And on to teenage years and the challenges of the teenagers and the lens of reality in which we're seeing through may have been a little bit jaded because it was designed for us to experience so much contrast and also depend and rely on the outer condition for our safety, security, for our joy and satisfactions, as well as trust and faith. All of that really was more stemmed from the outside, unless we grew up in very more of a well-practiced, let's say faith-based, that gave us the opportunity to practice that. And sometimes if it was more dogmatic, heavy or controlled, perhaps we could not unleash that innate part of us that is already from the infinite supply of source. So having said that, we develop these conditioning thoughts and programs inside our psyche, where through our internal awareness, we gave from that internal awareness voice to the present in its mind, and let's say the faculty of the way it is perceiving reality, the authority to decide that what it can rely on and what it cannot rely on. And it's been so perfect because it's been part of the veil of illusion, if you want to call it, so, or the amnesia, because we've had to depend on friends, depend on parents, depend on spouse, depend on children, depend on cousins and uncles, depend on governments, depend on this, and try to rely on them so that we can sort of feel that strength, like as a pillar of some kind of like a rock, so we can lean on. And we've experimented this with in so many different ways. And even nature, like we have put our faith, let's say, for example, in nature, only tornado come or hurricane come or volcano happens or earthquake, and our material world has shifted apart. Or we have put our faith, for example, excuse me, in our parents, and let's say one of my parents experienced a health issue and he or she transitioned, or there was a car accident, such as in my case, and he transitioned. Today's, by the way, my father's birthday. He transitioned over 30 years ago, actually. So yeah, or like, for example, the faith is in that, and then the very significant individual in your life crosses over, and then your whole world is changed around. So when we take this ascension path of being expanded in our own consciousness, all of these realities begin to shift because internally we begin to change as the light of luminosity and that presence that was always there begins to become more accessible only because we start to unplug from these places, people, and things that we have put our faith and trust and reliability on. As we begin to sort of like unplug and begin to come back inside, we take this ascension walk. And through that, there's more light of awareness that is shining within these areas of insecurity within us that try to find security on the outside, or try to find stability on the outside, or try to find some kind of almost like being saved on the outside. As all of these were met by this luminous light, the more we came in, the more light was shining up on these areas, so that we had the opportunity to choose differently. Up until before that, we didn't know there was a choice. We just got tumbled around and we got sort of like really thrown out, including the astrological signs, like, for example, what's happening on the planets and the stars and the constellations. So many of us had put the faith and trust in that. Or also like our zodiac sign, or like human design. The more we came in, the more we let go of all of this because it made no more sense. As we came in, we began to start to really see through that luminous light within that shining. So from there, recognizing, wait a minute, I put my faith and trust in all of this. I try to rely on all of this. And it seemed from one lens, they all failed me, which isn't true. However, the perception of reality from that place, from the human, seemed like, oh, it didn't quite deliver. So as that homecoming began to take place, returning back to oneself, not from the human self, through the human self, returning back to that divine self. What is that divine self that created everything? What is that omnipresence, that infinite consciousness, the one principle, the one truth, that everything has stemmed from it? So it created universes, it created worlds, it created galaxies, created everything. All angels, ascended masters, star brothers and sisters, trees, plants, rocks, crystals, everything comes from it, dolphins and whales. So why are we going to everything on the outside instead of coming back to the source of its creation? So when we come back here, we begin to start to rely on divine. And that begins our force of stability, our force of grounding, our force of truth, our force of that rock that we've been looking for to lean on. So we begin to rely on that presence and its awareness that is always here, that is dwelling right here, and is ever so present, accessible, undeniable, completely abundant, completely filled with everything that it already contains in it. And then through this ascension walk, it's like, wait a minute, all the supply has always been here all along. So let me start living from this supply, as I've been trying to get it from outside, and it's created all that suffering and friction inside of me, including bodily harmful things and all kinds of things. So from here, if say something happens with your spouse that you were sort of like looking forward to and it fell apart, you have divine that you always fall upon. Something happens with your child, something happens with your friend, something happens with your colleagues, anything. You are already reliant on your own divinity. And this divinity is eternal. It doesn't go anywhere. It was there before you came into form. It will be there when you go out of the form. It is not going anywhere. The supply of it is endless. It's surplus. It will never diminish. So when we come back here, suddenly the lens in our perceived reality truly changes. And it really lifts from that suffocating, more anxious space where the human didn't know or may have felt lost on how it would get through. It will suddenly be backed up by this luminous field of awareness that is presenting itself in infinite supply of solution, possibilities, collaboration. And from here, there are incredible thoughts and ideas that are birthed from here. And this becomes a very important walk of ascension as we embody that truth within this human vessel that we are in. Because after all, we are in form and we are here to allow this as a vessel in which these heavenly goods can be implemented on earth as the solutions for earth's new realities. And so many of us have so much passion around this. Yet, when we have our human get in the way with its human thoughts and its human emotions and its human also beliefs about what spirituality is versus coming in, having it directly experience the isness, there's a complete different shift. And that is the shift of ascension. That becomes ascension, in sending and walking it. So I hope this assists you in your awareness, in your consciousness, and I love to hear your comments. This has been a very important one for myself because of many years feeling that insecurity because of the traumas that my human self has experienced, and I constantly wanted to feel safe. My entire life was dictated around experiencing feeling safe. And it was really my little girl constantly feeling safe, especially those of us who experience really tremendous hardships and tragedies. There's the safety becomes everything. And it took a while to experience the only place for me to feel safe is at home with my divinity. And that Christos light in me is the ultimate safe place, because anything can happen and I'm still safe. And that's what my human self is rejoicing in. And I'm so thankful for it, because it finally, the human self and my divine self are walking with each other. So my I am is present inside this human vessel, and it sees, how beautiful this is to feel this comfort, this ease, this peace that's already there in its experience. Because the reliability is relied upon its divinity, the origin of its supply. So much love to all of you. Looking forward to your comments, and stay tuned for next week's video on Wednesday as well.